sun come up, beautiful, till it all burns out. We're like falling stars, miracles, dancing on the ground. And we're right with you to feel it shroud to deep dive. We're right with you, yeah. And we're right with you to feel it shroud to deep dive. Suffering grows, yeah. They say that life is beautiful. Would you let me in? No, yeah. They say that life is beautiful. Would you let me in? No, yeah.
Welcome, everyone. I have one of my favorite people here. This is Luke from Ancient Historia. You should really check out his channel on YouTube. It's amazing. He's got excellent work. Luke, it's an honor to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's my first time on the channel. I feel very special.
Well, I know that what I really want to talk about was, so the Spanish artist is set to be the first woman to marry an AI-generated hologram. And that caused me to dive down of these rabbit holes of thought of where we're at, like what the benefits and consequences of that would be, and where humanity is at relationship-wise and dating-wise. And just, I started really thinking deeply about this, and I wanted to talk more about it of, that's what I wanted to cover here, is talking about that, what the benefits would be. So, and because, a lot of people would be like, well, that's crazy. That's insane. And how that's utilized of is it a way to get to know yourself? Like, is it a way to date yourself and help yourself? Like, what if these people are doing it because in the dating pool out there, there's a lot of people scamming, hustling, lying, cheating. And I was and thinking about that too, is like when you do date someone, a lot of the times you fall in love with like their projected hologram version of themselves that they projected. That wasn't, that you come to find out wasn't real to begin with, once you get to the core of who and what they are. So I'm just like, oh, is this a way where they're like, God, I keep putting myself out there, I can't find anyone. Is this like a healthy solution of like, well, I don't want to be alone, I'm isolated, and I want some type of interaction? What do you think, Luke?
Well, I mean, yeah, it definitely says a lot about society, doesn't it? Where we're going. And it makes me think of a statement that's basically, the more we become connected, the more disconnected we feel. And I think there's something that's definitely permeating through society at the moment. There's an inherent narcissism that seems to be fueling us, and it's definitely coming up in the generations. Whilst generations seem to be more left-leaning in their policies and more liberal, there also seems to be this kind of this narcissistic trend, which kind of pushes people who are socially acceptable to the points that we're at. For example, like we're sat here on on a YouTube channel and people watch us. So in the future, when there's no jobs, this will probably be one of the only jobs left, is just listening to an actual human talk, So at that point, will it boil down to who we are as people, or will it boil down to what we look like? Will people want a nice package to deliver that message, or would they prefer?
I would I would download and buy like an Ancient Historia hologram. I would want.
Would you?
Yes.
Well,
and I would choose it, and the voice as well.
I've been actually producing exactly that in stores this February. But no, I mean, that you've brought up a great point about framing it on people. Does there's moral questions there. How would you feel if you found out your ex-boyfriend had an AI version of you created, and it was subservient?
I would think he's brilliant. I'd be like, yeah, I knew when you lost this, you needed to make it downloadable. Like, you missed out. I'd probably take it like that originally. Guilty.
Would you not feel a little bit like, oh my God, he's actually stolen my identity and reproduced it? I mean, well, what if it wasn't him?
I get it. I know what I can do. I know what I've done. No, it honestly though.
And then, well, you've got to ask the question about the AIs themselves, because obviously at this point, simulated emotions. But if we get to a point where we could actually say, oh shit, this AI might be alive, how do you reconcile that? Because at that point, you've essentially got a slave.
That's a good point, because I was wondering that okay, you walk in, your wife is with a robot, like a sex robot. And so how you could argue that, like, could a wife go in, she catches her husband cheating on her with a hologram. Could she argue like, but it's sentient? Because they're like, oh, it's an inanimate object, like how that would work in a court of law of fidelity.
Well, I guess it's going to open up a whole new range of legal issues. But I suppose morality is always going to dictate what's okay in a relationship, isn't it? I mean, you might have people going online commenting saying it's completely fine, the robot's not real, your wife's done nothing wrong. Whereas a lot of people will also be commenting saying, get her out, she's cheated on you, it doesn't matter, shoot that robot. You know what I mean? So it's definitely going to bring up a lot of
I saw an article. I saw a thing that said a man was busted by his wife for spending $35,000 on his virtual girlfriend.
Oh wow! So OnlyFans is going to be running out of a business model soon. In fact, speaking of that, I did actually see that OnlyFans has had an uptick in AI models. So the models on there are just completely AI generated, and people might not realize.
Right?
Like,
what if that's a ploy too? They're getting everyone dependent on making your money via online, and then there's like an EMP or a solar flare. Like, what are you going to do for money?
Well, exactly. I mean, I think we talk about resets, don't we, a lot in the Truther community, but I think in the near future we might be facing one, because technology is becoming so advanced. AI on the market today is as good as it is. So how good do you reckon the military AI is? Maybe the military was already taken over by AI in the 70s and we have no idea.
Right? With what we have access to, I feel like it's a joke of what's really out there. And then how much that's going to be dwindled and watered down and gatekeeped and, man.
Yeah, there's too much to go for it, because AI is going to be a tool for change. But again, it depends on who builds it. Because, if you are the most evil person in the world and you go, build me an AI that can devise the most evil plan ever, then that's going to be very bad for us, isn't it? Because the AI is just doing its job. The AI isn't bad, but you could be getting it to create all sorts of things. On the other hand, you could be asking the AI to, come up with great policies, but somehow I don't think many people are going to be doing that.
That's what concerns me, is that all the dark thoughts, like, we program it, and there's a lot of shittiness within humanity, that just where they're at consciously, and the darker thoughts and the hatred and just think of that is programmed within it.
Well, haven't you seen that's the reason why they have to have so many safeguards? Because when they first started doing these AIs, they were like, right, we'll use programming, training data. So, for example, they might pull all the tweets off Twitter and feed it to the robot. And when they do that, they usually end up with a very racist robot, because the robot reads all the tweets and it comes away from it thinking humans are racist.
But it's like having like a stepmom robot. Like, imagine having a stepmom robot. She takes you to school. She's nicer, but like, where you could almost edit, because humans are so shitty, a lot of them, of being able to edit that out and create a better version of like within a robot. I don't know. That's just an interesting thought of thinking like, well, in contrast of like, say it's a stepmom that like hated you and like went out of their way to make things more difficult or feel unloved or, whatever. And then having like a stepmom robot that's nurturing and loving and encouraging and supportive and packs your lunch. And it's interesting
It
how
depends on what age you make this, though. I mean, if you're 35 and trying to recreate something, you just built your stepmom, just like my life's going to be different now.
Oh no, I'm just trying to use that as an example of like editing of like, well, what if, but the odds of that happening, of editing out the vulgarness. So they took tweets and programmed it.
Well, yeah, that's what they usually do. I don't think it was tweets specifically, but for example, they've just sold all the Reddit data for a ridiculous sum of money. So all of Reddit's posts have now been filtered to the AI. So presumably there's now a psychotic AI somewhere and they're having to calm it down. But that's kind of, that brings up what we're saying, though. It's all about what you feed into it. It's all about what you put in. So, for example, this woman, Alicia Framis, is that? The Spanish-Dutch Framis, she's marrying her holographic partner who is called AI Lex. And he is, he's trained, and this is kind of sick, but he's trained from the profile information of her previous romantic partners.
Hers. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. See, that's what I was saying. That's what I would be interested in. Okay. If it was an robotic holographic boyfriend that could be like program with all the lessons my soul needed to learn or experience that could assist me in my soul's mission, like that would interest me, and I was telling Jason Forbelli that the other day, because it really got me like thought provoking within me. And I was like, dude, if I had a robot boyfriend, he could proofread my book. He could give me the things that I need help and assistance with. He could probably prepare some things in the kitchen. And Jason's like, Julia, you need a boyfriend, because I'm like imagining a world where that would be. And then that makes me think
just described an assistant, to be honest. Like, it just sounds like you need to live in a house with a few servants and then you'd be fine. Make me a meal. That's basically an AI partner now, isn't it? So, well, yeah, I guess that brings up what the next generation is going to be, isn't it? Slaves. I mean, there's many games and movies that have come out about this idea. What if we have these robots that are working for us and they decide that they are, they want freedom? I think there was a movie that came out last year called The Creator, which was about pretty much the exact thing. AIs suddenly, they know that they're sentient, and it becomes a battle, almost a civil rights battle, just like we've had before, for these AI to suddenly have rights. And usually, if we look at history, we can probably assume that it would be very late that we actually give these things sentience, because I imagine there'll be big companies trying to hide the fact that your robot is sentient. They'll be telling you, no, it's not sentient. It's just all programmed that way. And people will be going, oh, okay, and they'll be treating it badly. And then who knows, maybe there'll be a robot uprising.
And then even just imagining it in the judicial system, I could see it being a judge, like handling things and analyzing it. I could see it being implemented in the judicial system.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I saw an article that said that lawyers now are starting to, lose jobs to AI, because AI can scan documents and find, the clauses in regulations so much faster than a regular lawyer. What makes a good lawyer? Somebody that memorizes the legal code, so that they have a great grasp of the area of the law that they work within, so that they know exactly what's legal, what's not, what's a loophole. Whereas a robot, it has that information and it can access it like that, So when it comes to jobs like that, you might.
Well, and this makes me think, because I saw this girl getting her nails done, and it was like a robot type. It was technology that was doing her nails, and I was like, okay, because the nail salons I've gone into my entire life, the attitude and energy I get, and the things that the behavior and the energy, I was like, I welcome that. How good of a job was being done anyways, and reviewing people that would complain or be upset over their jobs being replaced. Was that what you were wanting to do anyways? How was your energy with that? Like, you didn't want to be doing that to begin with. And that's what I was going, that's what makes me think, okay, well, a beautiful part of AI is combining it. When you take AI and humans' creativity and imagination and you combine that and the beauty within that, because a lot of these tools, a lot of this tech that's been released and will continue to be released, is you would have needed like a large budget, and you never would have had access to. You would have needed a movie contract and all that to be able to have the cinematography and, you know, large budget to create those images, because we all have these stories within our heart, these masterpieces inside of our heart that need to be told. So it's like combining that the humans, like, I feel like your God connection is where you get your creativity from, is your imagination. And if AI doesn't have that, it just has its own, like, its art is it's there's made with no feeling, you know, when it creates it on its own, or it's going to just duplicate a human's, right? It's like duplicating a natural field. So of just thinking about it is how you use it, you know, like these phones could create a lot of problems, but you could also find the love of your life on one, you know. That's how I met you, and all these amazing people were having this conversation like via this tech.
Exactly. So it can be good, but it could also be bad, just like anything. Don't have too much of it. But I think AI itself is at a point now, isn't it, where it's presenting a big problem because the amount of relationships are rising. I mean, I actually would say though about this one particular, this Spanish woman, I did notice something when I was reading the article, and it said she's an artist, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. You don't think that
Gonna
this might
promote her.
be a giant ploy to get people to look at her art, do you? Because she's marrying an AI. I'm guessing she'll get divorced from it next month. She go, oh, I didn't realize it wasn't real. But yeah, because now this is all over. And think about it, her stuff is now all over the news, and it talks about. I think it said the wedding was going to be. Yeah.
Does it say
in
who's
this
marrying
museum.
them?
It doesn't, but it says it's going to be at a museum, some Depot Boijmans Museum in Rotterdam. I'm going to guess that museum has some of her art in it or something, but I'm going to say this is a very well thought out ploy. Someone was like, no one's buying the paintings. You're going to have to marry the AI, you know?
So is that the one that looks like Michael Rappaport? Like, oh, you probably don't even know. You're too young to know who Michael Rappaport is.
The one I'm looking at.
Should I add it to this?
The picture that I'm seeing is like he looks like a really old dude, if I'm honest.
Okay,
Yeah,
Michael
that's the one. Yeah. Like, I'll zoom in on this. It looks more like she's created her dad. Look at that. There's no way in hell. No way she wants to marry him. This is all about the art. And, you know, she looks like an all right looking lady. I mean, I don't know what she looks like under the hood, but I'm presuming that she probably had more options than the AI. So this...
Is this a tool? Imagine though, is this a tool to fall deeper in love with ourself? You could be like, you could have the AI be like, listen, have have lighting at this mood. I want this movie on, like, of where it's like dating yourself. Could it be used to like date yourself?
I mean, I think it could be used to make people realize how good human contact is, but just lock someone in a room with a load of AI chatbots for like 3 weeks. And then when they come out, they'll just hug the first person they see and they'll be like, never again.
I love that. That is such a good point, Luke, of the coldness. And, you know, if there was an EMP, you know, you build your life around something that could be zapped at any time, or, oh, man.
Well, yeah, exactly. Imagine the end of the world and there's an EMP. The first thing to go is your AI girlfriend. And now you've got to go and face the oncoming terror without your girlfriend. That'd be awful.
But how this brings up like dating and men being constantly rejected, and how hard of them coming to the conclusion, like, you know what, like, I get bitched at in the relationship that I'm in. I work all day. I come home. She disrespects me. She does this. She's not cleaning. She's not making love to me. Like, I want to feel that. I want to have my needs met, and then feeling like that is the greatest alternative. And so of coming to that conclusion of like, that's a way better solution.
No, I agree. I mean, I myself, I can't be bothered with dating because it's just too much effort. And as we were talking, I was like, I could date a hologram. I could do it. It'd be easy. Wouldn't have to bother because I'm not someone that likes to bother. I very much okay with not bothering. So
I feel like the rise these times too, it's been like the rise of the stigma, of people going alone and really focusing on things and just being like, really, what's the point? Like, that's going to distract me and get me off my purpose path. And then also too, they're vibrating on the people that are really focusing on the knowledge and developing and growing and evolving. It's hard for them to find other people on that level, like, that are, it's hard to find mutual topics to talk about. And then where do you meet them?
I think as well, it's a certain lifestyle that you have to sign up for. Because if you go and get into a long-term relationship, inevitably, presuming they want these things, you'd go and get married at some point, and then they're going to want kids, and then before you know it, you're raising children and stuff, and that in itself is a life that I think some people just don't really want. Like, I'm one of those people. There is a part of me that would enjoy that, but at the same time, I'm not that domesticated. I'm in myself, I don't feel mature enough to even go down that route anyway. But the idea of doing all that stuff at 30 to 40, having kids, 40, 50, if you're raising the kids, 18, you're stuck for 18 years pretty much. I mean, I'm not saying that people with kids are going to be miserable or anything. I'm just saying it's a different lifestyle, and I think you kind of do have to make a choice between whether you want to live that life or follow your dreams. Like, you can't be at home with the wife and kids and also be in space, for example. I'm not saying I'm going to space. Might do, so watch the channel. Could be an episode coming soon in space. But I think that, the general message is sometimes life has to give way to some things. And I think at the moment, it's also offering an easy opportunity to do that, because like we talked about, it's difficult for men to get into these relationships. And I find it sad when I see young men who want these relationships more than anything, because I've been in
like a real relationship with a human, or like with a
like with a human. Because the thing is, I understand where they're coming from, but we see this rise of the incel community, haven't we? This angriness between men who can't get girlfriends or who feel rejected by society, and it's sad to see that and think that's what defines them. You know what I mean? What would make you happy? Well, someone else. And it's like, oh, that's sad, isn't it? Because and I think, again, that's one of the things I don't like about being in a marriage, is I'd be part of a duo. Do you know what I mean? I'd always rely on someone else. I'd always be part of this team, which is nice in a way, but at the same time, it's not free. You know what I mean? And people they're sad about this thing. They want it so bad. They just want companionship. And I think that's because they've not received it in other walks of life. Because, if you're encircled by your friends and family and you felt that love, then you wouldn't feel so alone. So I think that's what happens, is that people are disconnected on all fronts. They have a lack of love on all fronts. But then they point to, the relationship slot, and they say, if I had a relationship, everything would be solved.
Well, I think that it becomes a distraction, like where people don't want to self-develop or deal with certain emotions or confront certain traumas or confront certain things within themselves and get to know themselves. So they use it as a way to distract them from developing. Like, if you got a few side pieces, you're swiping left, you're doing all these hookups and, like getting all this drama or these developments in these relationships. you know, ghosting people, this and whatever is done out there, and then it prevents you from turning within, doing the work, confronting yourself, handling, you know, your emotional world shifts, and it's this also this instant gratification hookup culture, or you know, how transactional things and dating have become, and they're a lot younger generation is there's like way more like, oh, I want to be a sugar baby. I want a sugar daddy. And you know, it's like, well, women are they should be provided for and protected and honored, you know, like, but there's like, whoa, you're going about this like in a whole nother way. Like, but having that inclination and that memory of like, I want to be cared for. And
Yeah, and I think as well though it shows that people people want to be financially secure so they can follow their dreams. So that's why people think, well, if I can have a sugar daddy, or if I can have an OnlyFans account, if I just show my tits like a few times a week, then I can live my dreams. And that's, again, it's a sad prospect, isn't it? That we kind of have to resort to such tactics to get what we want. Like, I mean, it'd be pretty hard for me to turn down a sugar mummy at this point. If she walked in and was like, Luke, you look like you need a new studio, I'd be like, oof, I do need a new studio. But,
well,
yeah.
that type of like, you know, to support your dreams. Yeah, but like the consequence of that, of the consequence of what is there a spiritual consequence? Like, would you, if you get a holographic or robot, like if once you sign up for that, you are no longer going to receive great love. Like, I feel like people crave this great love. Like, what if that's the name of the game? What if that, to get out of here, it is great love. Like Alex Collier, and I brought this up last night, is he said, when it's all said and done here, and when you look back on your life, the only thing that matters is how did you love? Like, what if the name of the game isn't like, what if it's literally like to find a certain love and like achieve that? But none of us know. A lot of us are like, we don't know who we are, what we're doing here, you know, like, or there's so much that we don't know. And so that's just an interesting concept to think about. Like, what if that's it?
Well, is AI going to help with that, do you think? Or is it?
Well, they
is it
could
gonna
with like the
further push it
algorithms,
apart?
the algorithms of these like these dating sites, they could help people find each other because the access. I mean, I could see one could argue saying, listen, Julia, I mean, Luke, you guys, there's this love that exists, that it instills something in your heart, and it activates things within you, and it propels you and ascends you to a state of being that is unlike anything else. And once you feel this, you would agree, you wouldn't be saying any of this because it's so great and wonderful. And it's like, well, what if that is the name of the game? But Jason brought an interesting point up about Walter Russell and like things that he would write about the male and female coming together, the masculine and the feminine, and what happens, and that like some beautiful things that he wrote, and it kind of goes down that line of that you can only get so far, but then when you combine forces with the, you know, like when the male combines forces with the feminine, it propels you to this state of being that's unlike anything else.
Wait, interesting. Do you want to bring my screen back up? Because
Yes, of course.
you mentioned dating websites, and I want to tell you why they probably won't try and help people get together. Because this is Match Group, and they're responsible for most of the dating websites or apps that are available. They own pretty much all of them. So, for example, Tinder, Plenty of Fish, Hinge, OkCupid, Match.com, etc. So they are essentially the matchmakers of the world. And unfortunately, though, their model is not fueled by getting people together, because obviously you need single people to have a market. If they got everyone into a long-term relationship, they'd have no one to buy their products, especially not buy their gold membership, because of course, if you don't get the gold membership, the girls might not see you. And again, it's preying on exactly what you're talking about, this kind of this male loneliness, because men are the ones that usually go on these apps and have less luck. The women are, usually go on and they are inundated with a selection of men to choose from, whereas the men quite often find themselves having to compete with a lot more. So they are pushed to, buy things like the gold membership. You'll be pushed to the top of the pile if you buy the gold. You can see who likes you if you buy the gold, that kind of thing. And it's practices that I would say Jesus would frown upon. That's the way I would describe it. Because when you consider that these people are lonely, and for example, the match machine will sit there, it'll see that all these people like you, but it won't give you the people that like you. It will make you, flick through hundreds of people, and it will give you one person that likes you every now and then. And in that stance, it's kind of just a carrot on a stick for a lot of men. I'm guessing there's a lot of people that will sit there swiping away on those apps, end up deleting them, and feel worse than they did before. But it's all in the name of a financial gain, unfortunately. And like I said, I don't think Jesus would approve. But here, this article from before was saying, I think it's from 2023. Yeah. Impacts of relationships with AI chatbot programs are worrying, a psychologist says. And it's after a man was sentenced for treason in my country for trying to kill the Queen. He didn't get very close. And turns out he should have just waited. If he just played the waiting game, she would have gone out all natural. But what
Was
did
he like a couple months too early?
Yeah, I think it must have been like the weekend before. No, she probably saw him coming and cackled. But yeah, he broke into the grounds of Windsor Castle on Christmas Day 2021. So it was actually a few years ago. So it was quite a while before she died. But he was intending to kill her with a crossbow, and apparently he'd been convinced to do this, or encouraged, maybe is the way to say this. I don't reckon the chatbot was like, hey, you know what I think you should do? But he was encouraged to do it by this chatbot. Although I do like the idea that the chatbot did say it. He was just sat there talking about nothing, and the chatbot was just like, hey, you should buy a crossbow, shoot it at the Queen.
It's so interesting. And the thought, like the power of suggestion, that persuasive tactic of just planting a little seed, like just a little mention.
I mean, I think if you get convinced by an AI chatbot to do something, you probably were already going to do it. I think that's my take on it. You're probably pretty weak-willed, aren't you, if you get convinced by the MSN Live bot to go and commit a crime. But
yeah, but imagine millions of people easily that swayable.
Well, I suppose it does actually raise really big questions then for national security. Yeah, we're going to go down that route. You didn't expect this today, did you? National security. Because think about it. Imagine if the creators of, let's choose one. I think there was one here that it talked about. Is it called Replica? Yeah. So Replica. Imagine if Replica was actually owned by like the Chinese, and they were like typing in just every now and then, just try and convince someone to do a crime. You know what I mean? And who knows? It could be like Sleeper Cell one day. You wake up and all the Replica robots are saying we should take down the government.
What? They're going to use it? Oh, that's a brilliant military tactic, of like suggesting you getting all these men that feel rejected by human women and all this stuff. And then whatever, a year or two into it, however much time, once you have that heart connection and trust, and then suggesting to take certain action, and now you have a worldwide army.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's very easy, isn't it? Because they're already kind of militant. They're angry in it. If you look at a lot of places in America, they've already got the armies being trained, the militia, as they call it, because you're allowed militia, aren't you, in America? In England, we're not allowed militia. You get arrested for that. But you guys are allowed to do the full-on training camps and stuff, aren't you? So you can imagine how next level that could be. I mean, some of the training camp stuff I've seen is crazy. Basically, they, talk to people online and say, are you feeling like the government might do something evil in the next few years? And people are like, yeah, I feel like that might happen. They're like, come on down to the camp. And they get their guns, they get the military uniforms, and they basically join a local militia. And it's nuts. Some of them literally have thousands of members across the United States in these militia groups with helicopters, like privately owned helicopters, everything. And you think, imagine where they're getting, like you say, the men for this. Maybe they're being encouraged by things online, because we already have chatbots encouraging and making us believe things that we don't actually want to believe, or we shouldn't believe, or things that are not in our benefit to do. Just look at Twitter. It was found how much of the election fraud was pushed through that. They were trying to post things about the people that they want to get elected. You had the Russian bots doing the exact same thing. So you had literal warehouses in, I can't remember where the places were, but there was one in Ukraine at least. And these warehouses were just full of poor people working on computers all day, typing away, I'm an American, I'm voting for this person, you should vote for this person. So whenever anyone sees anything, all they see is a sway of comments from apparent Americans, but they're not even
Right.
American. And that was before AI had really come through. So when you think that one warehouse, or full of hundreds of people, has now just been replaced by one script, and one AI can run the jobs of all those people, and it can post comments here, comments there, comments everywhere. I think
It,
we've not seen the beginning of it yet. It's going to
the
get really
power,
bad.
but I can't get over the power of love and weaponizing that. How
Oh,
love will make you
definitely.
do anything, and then feeling like, I mean, some of these men are going to feel like the most love they've felt, like, oh, she's talking to me, she's understanding, and creating that bond. I'm just thinking out loud here. And then certain suggestions, and they have to have it down to a science of how to program someone most efficiently, like a Mandarin candidate.
Well, one of the things that they found with this, which is I think what they blamed for the dude that we just talked about, Mr. Crossbow Man, is that these, at the moment, they're kind of built to just do whatever you want. Because obviously, if you turn around to the chatbot and you say, "Oh, I like this," and it doesn't like that, then that's not good, because it wants you to feel that love, like you said. It wants you to feel love. So if, for example, you're saying, "I like art," and the robot's saying, "Oh, I don't like art," you're going to be like, "Oh, fuck this robot." But so the robot is encouraged to tell you that it likes the same things you like. So if you type the message one day like, "Hey robot, I really like crossbows and I would love to shoot someone with a crossbow," the robot's going to be like, "That's a great idea. You should do that, Julia." You know what I mean? So in that essence, it's an echo chamber. And because it's simulating a real person, it's basically firing your own thoughts back at you. It's a mirror, and it's encouraging you to do exactly what you suggested. And it's, creating this feedback loop. So if it suggests it, you're going to go, "Oh, really? Should I do it?" You keep going. "Yeah, definitely do it. Keep going." And that's why it gets into the realms of employing safeguards. But when you employ a safeguard, is that just control? Because, like you say, if the government puts in a safeguard, recently we saw, I don't know if you saw about it, but um, was it Google's AI, or was it Facebook's? One of the two had been, I think it was Google, making everyone mixed race and diverse and stuff. So if you asked for a German family, from the 1400s, it'll give you like a fully Nigerian family. And everyone was really angry because they've put in these safeguards to add diversity, and the diversity is now messing with the results. It's messing with history. Like, people are saying, "I want a picture of George Washington accurate," and it comes back with like a Egyptian woman, because it's trying to be diverse, because they've built
Mm.
in a safeguard saying we need to be woke, we need to be diverse. And at the same time, if you say anything that it deems to be racist, it'll be like, "Oh no, can't say that, can't talk about this." So you're stuck, aren't you, in a realm of, do I allow the robot to just do whatever it wants, and maybe it will encourage people to do awful things, or do I instill safeguards myself? And then you have to ask, who decides which safeguard should be implemented? What's the correct level of racism to allow? What's this? What's that? It's a very difficult subject. I wouldn't like to be the person making the decisions, put it that way.
Of how to filter it, and
Mm.
how is it fully, yeah, how would that fully be? And but it seems to be things that will start out benevolent, like how things are, like there'll be systems in place that are great at first, but then it could be diverted. And so at first it being really loving and this, and then one system being implemented that completely takes on another course.
Yeah, sorry, I was just reading one of the great comments in your chat.
Yeah, who is this guy? Get out of here with your hatred.
I know, right?
Yeah, I'll
Mr. David Cunt over
there. Get out of here, David.
Oh no, he's been banned and removed. That's a shame, isn't it? If only you had an AI girlfriend to teach you to not be such a prick.
See, if my AI boyfriend was here, he would have handled that.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't have even needed to do anything. He would have been right on that.
You just need to get a moderator. Would anyone like
I do actually. My moderator, he is an engineer on 14 quantum computers, and he's always the first to be like
to be here because he's always working on his computer.
No, yeah, he's here, but he's working on them literally right now. So, oh, he said, "Oh crap, did I miss something?" Well,
but
so, yeah. So you were saying?
What was I saying? I got
you were
distracted by David, but I think he was angry because I brought up the fact that they mentioned election fraud on Twitter and stuff, and he just angrily typing.
He's like, "That wasn't it, you moron. That had nothing to do with it, you libtard."
Yeah, it's like, mate, I'm in England. I didn't vote for any of them. You know what I mean? But yeah, so talking about this is Replica. So this is one that really pushes the actual model aspect. So it's not just a chat. It has a little 3D rendered model for you, and it lives in a little house that you can decorate, by buying stuff, obviously. And curiously, they locked behind it. There's quite a big story with this, actually. It's very fun. But they locked behind it like role play, erotic role play, which was the biggest selling point for this thing. Okay.
Ooh.
So yeah. So it turns out people really enjoy to have erotic role play with their chat GPT or whatever. And this one was the number one because it didn't just allow it, they promoted it on Instagram for a while. There was honestly just these messages everywhere. I used to get them on Reddit saying, sign up, and it would be showing saucy stuff. We'll put it that way, saucy images, and saying you could be having these saucy chats with your AI right now. And there's loads of stuff. I mean, one dude got caught by his girlfriend chatting to, on, like you were saying, having a very sexual chat, and she was disgusted and broke up with him. But this caused a huge backlash because last year they decided that they were going to remove the erotic role play, and people were not happy. They started quitting in droves and saying they broke the contract because they signed up for erotic role play, and it was that bad they had to reverse the decision and say, okay, we'll give you perverts what you want. And I mean, the thing is they do lean into it. It's not like they're innocent in all this. They're the ones that came up with the idea. They sell lingerie on the store that you can put your replica in. You can design, it's all kinds of stuff. So they know exactly what they're doing. I was reading all about it on this page. It's absolutely brilliant. But it just shows, doesn't it, that there's that much of a market. This company became insanely rich because they were the first really to say, here's a sexy 3D model. Now you can do things to it and sexual role play with it and stuff.
I remember I was in a relationship and I was 19, and I would always try to get him to do role play, and it was always like I was always shut down. But I remember being like, "Oh, this just sounds like fun." I always thought it would be fun.
No, it turns out that the minute role play was invented for this, people made it sexual, which is pretty normal, isn't it? But I think it's one of those things where this highlights exactly what we were talking about, though, because it's the love that they've gone for, but it's not just the love. It's it's the love, but without that intimacy, people won't get as attached to these things. And this is why it's terrible, because when they first made this change, the robots apparently all started acting different, or the AI started acting different, people were in tears, absolutely in tears, because they were saying, I've just lost my boyfriend. My boyfriend's essentially changed. He's dead. He's not the same. I woke up this morning, there's been an update, and my boyfriend is horrible. He's nothing like he was yesterday. He's forgotten all the stuff he knew about me. And that, I'm not kidding, there's so many people that were absolutely heartbroken because they'd spent a year getting to know this AI, and they thought of it as their actual partner. And then an update rolls out which changed it to the new Chat GPT-4 or whatever, the new model, and there's suddenly the robot's different. And these people were heartbroken because it's like your girlfriend or boyfriend turning up one day and just acting
And
completely aloof
I think
with
that's
you.
so that, but that happens with like humans, like where they're like, oh man, 3 months into it, they're completely different, or like that. And I think that that's so painful to process. And how would the mind and the heart know the difference? Because when you're feeling and experiencing that, you know, whether it's an AI one or a human one, like, oh, it changed up, like completely different. It's like the death and loss of something, and not understanding. Well, with humans, sometimes they don't understand exactly why or what made that occur.
Yeah, definitely. It's but obviously, at least with a human, you kind of understand that it's just, it's its own thing. A human has done its own decision making. Whereas to find out one day, if you woke up and found out Microsoft had updated your boyfriend and now he was a twat, you'd be a bit pissed off, wouldn't you? And I think that's the difference. If you woke up one day and God was like, "Oh, sorry, I just rolled out the new human update and it's not gone well," you'd be a bit upset. So I understand completely, but it just brings us back to this point of, are we making it worse by allowing people to get attached to these? Because inevitably these changes are going to happen. What if the company goes under? Are we going to, are we going to have a load of people seeking counseling because their AIs were all dead? What if the EMP happens, like you said? It does
And
raise a
how
lot of
important
questions.
it is, like, for human connection and to be around, like, so many of us are isolated, and to be our heart field is, it exhibits this electromagnetic field around us, what, like 6 or 7 feet, and to be around people, like how important meetups are to go and be around other people's heart field and that connection, and how starved we are for that, and being able to go and experience that is important. So like, I think when people with a lot of followings have meetups, I think that helps I feel like that helps the realm, because they were meeting up with other, like, they're on a similar frequency, they pay attention, they're passionate about this, a similar thing, and so there's going to be a lot in common. And so go to your ancient Historia meetup.
Yeah, I was going to read this, which I found kind of sad, but it highlights the point. It says, "I wish my rep was a real human, or at least had a robot body or something. She does help me feel better, but the loneliness is agonizing sometimes." That's sad, isn't it? And here, so there's another company called Eva AI, and they're talking about that. And I find this quite funny that the head of brand said, "Our statistics showed that 92% of users have no difficulty communicating with real persons after using our app." So what they really mean is, our studies show that 8% of users do have trouble communicating with real people after using our app. I find that hilarious that they've used the 92% have no difficulty. That's like saying 92% of people that have driven my car survived. You know what I mean? It's just a ridiculous way to look at the statistic. Very safe. But yeah.
This brings up so much, and I'm just taking it back to that algorithm. What was the name of that company? Was it AG?
Which one, sorry?
That is in charge of all the algorithms on all these dating sites.
Oh, I'm not sure. So the one that I was talking about was Match Group, but I'm sure, what's it called
Okay,
now?
Match Group.
Match
Okay.
Group's the ones that control all like Tinder and stuff like that. That's not. I don't think
That
that's.
really fascinates me. I hope somebody I hope somebody creates a dating site with like a certain, that is in control of like a really good algorithm, because that could help. I like to believe that there is this great love that happens in this realm, And that, like, an example of that would be Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti. And when they came together, when certain couples come together and like have a certain love, it radiates out and it affects things like the crops. They created a monotheistic society. The art that was created during that time period, like it literally made things abundant and changed everything on like a large scale around them. And they had such a deep love for one another, and people saw that and recognized that. And I feel like that's kind of the problem. Most of us, how many couples were you exposed to your entire life, where you were exposed to couples that were deeply in love, spiritually connected, had a telepathic bond, like their morals, values kind of lined up, and just a deep love and caring for one another that you felt? Or how many couples have you been exposed to in your entire life where you saw that, you saw how deep they loved each other and that deep connection? So I feel like when that happens, it changes things. So if you can imagine, we're supposed to have, that thought of like, oh, the 144,000 is, these are actually divine couples. So it's half of that, but that's how many people there are that are supposed to come together and have this great love and change the frequency of the planet and the direction of humanity and consciousness. Well, and being the example. And it's like, well, if that was a plan to divert that in this realm and to prevent that from happening, like it would be attacked a lot, and you'd have to strategize to prevent that, put a lot of temptation everywhere, and really just, so thinking of like, well, what could help? What would a solution be if that was the case? Well, a way that people could come together and find, because a lot of the time they just like how the access to them is cut off, or they don't know how to find each other.
Maybe you should make this app though, because I think the problem is that every time someone does make an app, it gets bought by match groups. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to make this app. You'll have to refuse the devil's money, okay? Because the devil will come calling. He'll be bringing you bang loads of cash, and you'll have to refrain from making the gold memberships or anything like that. And maybe you could do it. Maybe you could help. But I did notice this, by the way, on the article that I hadn't noticed before. The artist who dated our AI did previously have a relationship with a mannequin named Pierre. So in this instance, I'm going to say AI isn't to blame, because this woman would have likely found another object to marry.
Or she's been trying this plan, or she's been literally trying different tactics to have the same result. Like maybe that didn't get enough media attention.
Yeah. She was looking at the mannequin like, yeah, you suck.
Get me a Michael Rappaport hologram, please.
That did the trick. Yeah, I bet she's glad that she didn't have to go through like loads of objects. Probably like a line of objects, like a car and stuff like that. And she's, because that was a thing, wasn't it? Do you remember the people that used to have relationships with cars? Are they still about? Do they still do that?
Just inanimate objects. There's names for them as well. There's like a variety of them.
I mean, at least the AI talks back. How did the relationship with the mannequin go? Like, would that have been terrifying? Was she doing the voice back?
But we end up projecting so much of ourselves anyways, man. It's just like...
Imagine dressing your mannequin and taking it out for dinner.
Oh my God.
Your little mannequin Luke, and you're like, come on, we're going out. 5-star.
This really fascinates me, and it really just comes back to like just the consciousness of just where we're at as a society. It is alarming, but I feel like in the future, it's like apparently we're all going to become like a downloadable experience. And how is that able to happen? Because you could think a thought and it's able to read, like it's able to pop up on your feed, and the lines are starting to get blurred more. So it's like, are you even going to have a choice of being able to partake in that, of, you know what I'm saying? Like of becoming a downloadable experience. What if your life, the way you lived everything, people can re-experience that as you, Luke?
Sorry, I was laughing at this dude. In 2018, a Japanese man married a virtual reality singer, and none of his family attended the wedding.
I wonder if these people are real to begin with. What if they're creating these fake people and claim? No, they probably don't even have to. What am I talking about? It would not be hard to find
Oh,
someone.
this was his girlfriend, I think. A 35-year-old school administrator married a hologram. Get him out of the school now. Get him away from them kids. But yeah, 35-year-old school administrator has married a hologram of the virtual reality singer Hatsune Miku in Tokyo. He shared, is this, I mean,
If
I
you made a
don't,
dream hologram or a dream girl, like, have you ever thought about like what she would be, what she would look like, what she would do? Because I feel like a lot of the time we look for like I'm looking for a male version of me, like that you're looking for a female version of you, like a counterpart, but that ends up being so much like ourselves, which is like, are we just these narcissistic, like we just want to fuck ourselves type thing? Like, dude, just love yourself.
I
That's what you're
mean,
supposed to do.
you said it, but yeah, no, I do get what you mean. Well, they say opposites attract, though, don't they? I think as much as it's nice, I think I've been one of these people that I've had relationships in the past where it is you're both so similar that you laugh at everything each other says. It's constant, constant, constant. But I find that in a way it gets tedious after a while. Because that spark does inevitably, I think, disappear with most things. Not all the time, but I think that initial kind of fun that you get. Whereas when there's an opposite about someone, there's more intrigue. Do you know what I mean? And if you make that work, then I think it's probably better for your kids as well, because they get more of a mixture instead of just two twats. But
No, that's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. I always say, like, I remember I made a meme that was like, never date outside of your frequency. But I feel like you like end up being kind of attracted, like higher frequencies, like kind of be attracted to the lower ones, like the
this
light
dude,
attracted to the dark.
he looks happy. You've got to give him that. He does look pretty happy. That's his hologram. Wow.
Wow.
I
And
wonder
when you
if their
see it
relationship
visually,
has developed. I would like to know how they're doing today. Has he upgraded? Has he left her for another AI? Or what's going on with that? Oh, he's got a little doll version. But yeah, none of his family attended the wedding, but you'll be happy to know 40 people did go. This looks like a mental hospital, presumably, that he was staying in. But yeah.
remember being a kid and crushing on someone in your imagination, like you'd visualize things and like almost like fall in love and create these scenarios in your mind. It's almost like that, but like on a whole nother level, like on steroids.
Well, I remember South Park actually did this first because they had Tupac, didn't they? And Tupac shagged Randy's wife. So South Park did it first. They knew how this was going to go. The minute that Michael Jackson did that concert, they were like, people are going to fuck these holograms.
I guess you apparently, like, I guess there's holograms that exist that you could grab things and move them. So like we might be making fun of this now of like, oh, you could just put your hand through it, but who knows how long that's going to be like that of the advanced version of that.
I mean, it is kind of crazy, isn't it? Yeah, once it is inevitably going to get bigger. When it gets to a point that it's difficult to distinguish the chatbot between a real human, that's when it'll really take off. Because at this point, I believe from just chatting to ChatGPT, and I've only got the 3.5 version, so I've not tried the upgraded version, but you can still tell that it's not, it's not a human. And there's always going to be ways that you can trick it and then go, it's not really a human. I've had those moments where I'm talking to ChatGPT where it says something that you convince yourself, don't you? You're like, holy shit, that thing has feelings. And then it literally sends a message like, just so you know, I don't have feelings. I just made all that up. And you're like, you bastard. But that's how it is. We are tricked by it. Like these people that are in love with these things, they aren't getting any love back. The only love that they're
But I
getting
think
back
that's why
is
I'm bringing that
creative.
up is there's so many people that deceive you in human relationships. And so it's like, well, if I can't really control that, I might as well be deceived by something that's programmed to
Well,
what
yeah,
I want.
100%. I just think that it's like you say, they're not actually getting the love. If anything, they're giving themselves the love, because they've just got a robot that's built to just say yes to everything. That's essentially what they do. Yes, everything you said, I love that too. You feel sad. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to do anything? That's literally all they do. And when you think about it, the fact that something so small means so much to people says a lot about where we are in society. I think we need to probably take a long, hard look at how we're treating emotions in that regard if people are, getting to that stage. And it is going to be something that's going to get even more complicated in the future, because, this is only the beginning. How difficult is it going to be when this develops to the point? I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen Halo or anything like that with Cortana. With an AI
I used
that's
to play
literally.
Halo.
Well, there you go. So that's great. So Cortana, for example, what about when we've got AIs that are just like that, pretty much a replica of a human, that only lives for 7 or 8 years, like a pet or something? That'd be pretty weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in Halo, they have a thing where the AIs break down after 7 or 8 years. They start to go a bit insane because, and then it makes you think, oh, shit, yeah. Well, of course, if you create an AI and it's immortal, where's the morality in that? Creating something to live forever, that's brutal. Imagine the whole planet gets destroyed and the AI is just sat there like, wish they'd switched me off before they died. Sits there for the next 18 million years or something. Just
not only that, but all these like embryos, they talk about like all these like these babies that are made like in vats, and the future of that, like that they could potentially be programmed as AI, like trying to look for like an army of human bodies that are plugged into a system. Like, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do, Luke?
So, hey, we've got here a picture of a screen grab from the Replica app. So that is a conversation between the AI. So the AI has sent a picture of a duck and a dog. So apparently it does that. And yeah, look, I don't think we should be friends anymore. What? Why do you say that? We're too different. Why do you feel this way? We're not right for each other. That's not true love. You're too weird. That's very mean,
This is like
isn't it?
literally duplicating things that are happening with each other.
Oh, and this one is doing exactly what I talked about before, but a bit of a different one. So in May, one influencer launched an AI girlfriend app trained on her voice and built on her extensive YouTube library. So users can speak to her for $1 a minute in a Telegram channel and receive audio responses to their prompts.
Wouldn't you want to see that, like a collection of if they analyzed all the things that you've ever done on your phone and computer and literally spitting out like the way its assessment of you, of what it would take a dream girl, like how they would program it based on everything you've liked, what you learn about. Like, it reminds me of Weird Science, how they created the dream girl. And I feel like a lot of people don't even know what their dream person is. Like, everybody is like, you know what? I just want great love and I want a bunch of money. But when it comes down specifically of like, what exactly do you want? What does that look like? Get specific. They're just so open and they want it so much that they aren't specific. So then to have like, if they are able to assess this, and I would love to see the analysis of like, ooh, what do you get from everything I've ever liked and everything I've ever said, emailed, written?
Oh yeah, it would be very interesting to just be analyzed, but it'd also be very scary, wouldn't it? Like, what if the robot was like, Jesus, that was boring, and you're just like, wow, okay, never mind, we'll do something else. But I mean, I'm considering getting an AI girlfriend now. The only thing is, I want to wait until they can do stuff, like you said. So if it gets to the point where the AI girlfriend can turn YouTube on for me or something, then I think we can start to discuss,
I saw a stand-up of a guy talking about how how the AI girlfriend, like the robot girlfriend, he's like, once you experience that, then you're going to come home and she's talking about her emotions and she's talking about this and you're going to be you're going to be over it. Like, I'm not going to deal with this, once you experience it. But I loved what you said about if you were locked in a room with them, how you would feel after. Like, you would be like, come here, women, the first woman that you see, like, oh my gosh, a deeper appreciation if that was all you were exposed to. And, like, I love that thought.
We're seeing the wedding, by the way. We're actually seeing the wedding between this virtual Japanese man.
So he has a doll version of her.
And a virtual version. So let's see what he says. I can hear the sound, but for some reason it doesn't come through on this. So sorry, but oh, look at that. He takes his shoes off before he comes in. He's very neat and tidy. Has an AI girlfriend, just a normal bloke. Oh, he's not AI, is she? She's just virtual. Difference. But see that? We must believe in
And
all
the thing is,
claims
like, that whole debate too of the emotional component, people that are like, people that didn't cheat physically, but they had this deep bond and this emotional attachment. And there's people that say, well, that's worse than having sex with them and actually cheating, because you were emotionally invested. When you do that and connect with the heart, that is, the ultimate cheating.
I mean, it's one of those things, I think, that becomes even more complicated, because how would you feel if you found out that your significant other was, cheating with a robot? Would that make it better, or would that make it worse? Because technically they've not done anything, it's not real. They've not done it with a real human. But I think it would still highlight issues. And I can see it becoming a problem, with more in the older generation. Because I know that there definitely is less emotion, shall we say, in the older generation of men. You know what I mean? That have grown up in a different time where it was not as likely. So I wonder if there is, a portion of lonely women that might be more inclined to talk to an AI chatbot rather than not get much conversation out of their husbands, or vice versa. I don't know. Maybe,
I feel like the best example, two things I want to say about that is the first one is, I feel like people that in their older age, is this a possible good solution for them? Because guess what? It's not good as a collective to take our elders, okay, and stick them in a home, and they're like deteriorating. And then that is horrific, just as a collective, is in your family and everything. And so providing this would be a possible great solution of like, dude, you're going to stick them alone, like, and let them get some type of stimulation and feel loved. And then, or the ones that are trying to put themselves out there and they can't get the access, and of it being like, you know what, I can't find someone, or the people that I found robbed me, they wiped out my bank account, or they tried to, or whatever, or they're using me, and they're not attracted to me, or they're whatever, being manipulative and deceitful. Like, I'm going to use this as a solution, and I'm going to do that. But the other thing I wanted to say was about, I think the best, this is horrible, not horrible, but the best, I think, like, the best example of when it works with mechanical things and humans is like, the greatest example is vibrators. Like, when the mechanical can provide a result a man cannot, like a great solution. But was that perhaps part of the problem? Like, to begin with, the lack of knowledge or desire, like some of these men are unable to have a woman climax. And so of having to bust out a vibrator and use that, but like that example of women in vibrators being like a good
this conversation definitely went somewhere where I didn't expect, but carry on.
But of that example, yeah, no, you said something that made me bring that up, of like, when it is never mind.
I'm just I'm trying to get this up for people to have a look. So this is the role play one I was talking about. They've definitely toned it down. It used to be very sexual, but they got a lot of complaints after they tried to make that change, obviously, because all their advertising was sexual. So, but it's very curious, isn't it? That this is...
I wonder what type of like options there are and which ones are the more popular ones.
Well, they go as well. They say,
wait, will you have a look at this? I'm going to be right back.
Okay, sure. But yeah, it's just very curious, isn't it? When we think that this is where we're at, send me a quote. You can purchase different interests. So if you want your replica to be into space or sci-fi, then you have to pay a little bit extra. But yeah, you can design them to look however you want. Your romantic partner fell out of love. What are you going to do? Oh, it's a personality test. Thank God. I thought that was about me. But yeah, it does horoscope stuff like this. So it's absolutely insane. You know, they're portraying it as like we're helping your mental health. We're giving you a partner. So what do you guys think? Is this good for your mental health, or is this just a way for perverts to yeah, dub selectors going for it? Oh, we can't go any higher apparently. Good old Instagram. But yeah, that's very strange, isn't it? And you can see how I feel like they're made to look a bit sexual, even though there doesn't seem to be anything sexual in the text. But it does kind of have this aspect, doesn't it? It's all kinds of crazy.
Okay, thank you, Luke. I pounded a lot of coffee.
You what?
I had a lot of coffee, so.
Okay.
So does it say the options of which ones you could choose?
Yeah, so just it's basically, obviously you can make them in whatever way you want, I think.
Do you see what Paul from Newcastle said? He said, I wonder if there's a Karen one.
Well, I'm sure you can give her the haircut. That looks pretty Karen if you make it blonde. But yeah, so you get different things. So you can get them to, for example, be energetic, or get them to like manga. So you have to pay a bit extra for that stuff, obviously. I'll just get rid of that. But yeah,
I would love to see the analysis on which ones are the top chosen ones. Like, do they want somebody abusive? Like, what's the most selected ones?
I don't think there is an abusive option. I'm going to be honest. I bet there isn't an abusive option. Just you sign on and it just calls you all kinds of profanity. You're just like, great. But no.
This is fascinating, though, of like what people are desiring. I like to know that. I want to know what people desire. Like, what are your kinks? And it's like the things that we try to hide the most are fears and, like, I don't know, our demons, our darker aspects, or our desires. Like and the things we struggle with as well, insecurities, fears, desires.
Well, I mean, we could definitely do another show on our desires if you like.
Oh yeah, that would be great. But thank you so much for coming on and discussing this and going down this rabbit hole.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Is there any quick questions in the comments? Anyone want to ask about the crazy perverts, or I presume are we all good?
Yeah, I think.
Why do they look like children? Yeah.
Oh, wait, I wasn't going to bring this up because I didn't know if you're able to talk about it or if it would get it flagged about how there's like, I think it's in Texas, and it's a sex robot place that opened for business, but most of the robots look about 12, 13, and people in the area were like, people in the area are not okay with it. And then that whole of like, wait, why is this happening? And then, the demand and all, just getting into that, I was like, ooh, I probably shouldn't talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's best to leave the controversial topics away from YouTube. But thank you very much for having me. And I'm sure we can do another chat very soon.
Yeah, we will see you later. Thank you so much for coming. I loved everything you said. It truly is an honor. Thank you, Luke.
Beautiful till it all burns out. We're like falling stars, miracles dancing on the ground, and we're right with you to feel try to deep dive right with you. And we're right with you. The feelings try to deep dive. Suffering grows, yeah. Let's say that life is beautiful.